On the 2nd of November 1978, Australian yachtsmen Ronald Dean and David Scott were sailing the vessel Sanuk, part owned by Dean, on the Gulf of Siam. Ronald Keith Dean was a 35-year-old father of two from Wollongong, New South Wales, who worked in the hotel and club industry. His friend, David Lloyd Scott, was also in his mid-30s and was a band manager from Perth, Western Australia. En route to Thailand, after sailing out of Brunei in October, it is not known whether intentionally or by accident the pair drifted into Cambodian territorial waters. Working on a project for National Geographic magazine, both were hoping to be home by Christmas. Radicalised by communist intelligentsia while studying in France in the 1940s, Saloth Sar, later named Pol Pot, returned home to his native Cambodia, where he rose through the ranks of the country's Marxist-Leninist movement, the Khmer Rouge. After political turmoil in the early 1970s, the Khmer Rouge, led by Pol Pot, gained control of the entire country in 1975, establishing a totalitarian one-party state which was renamed Democratic Kampuchea. Year Zero was declared. Following the revolution, the urban population were driven out of their homes to work on collective farms, where they would suffer from exhausting labour, famine and brutality at the hands of the Khmer Rouge. People who had received formal education were executed out of the belief that they were members of the bourgeoisie who were oppressors of the country's peasant population. The abandoned capital city, Phnom Penh, became the regime's administrative centre, which housed what would become the notorious interrogation facility, a converted high school called Tuol Sleng, also known as S21. After straying into Cambodian waters, Ronald Dean and David Scott's yacht was swarmed by vessels of the Khmer Rouge Navy near Polawai Island. The pair was arrested and conveyed to the port of Sihanoukville, then transported to Phnom Penh, where they were imprisoned in the S21 facility. The conditions at S21 were horrific. Prisoners were shackled to the walls or floor, in cells or in communal rooms where they had to lie completely still. They were fed on rice gruel and leaf soup twice a day and hosed down every 4 days. Prisoners would be regularly beaten for the slightest perceived infraction of the facility's rules. Apart from the deprivation, the brutal interrogation system in S21 was guaranteed to extract the desired confession for a paranoid regime from a detained subject, which included a variety of torture methods, including waterboarding and electric shocks. In David Scott's forced confession, dated the 12th of December 1978, he said that he and Ronald Dean were United States Central Intelligence Agency assets conducting a surveillance operation of the Cambodian coast prior to being captured. Appearing to mock his oblivious captors, during his fanciful confession, David Scott offered the names of astronaut John Glenn, US tennis player Chuck McKinley, and cartoon character Mr. Magoo as his CIA handlers. Ronald Dean would identify Richard Tracy, or Dick Tracy, another cartoon character, as a CIA agent in his confession. On average, prisoners of S21 would spend 3 months confined in the facility until their almost inevitable death. Ronald Dean's incarceration is believed to have been up to 19 days, while David Lloyd is understood to have endured up to 40 days in Tuol Sleng. Of the 20,000 prisoners processed through S21, mostly Cambodians, only 7 survived. None of them were the handful of Westerners captured by the Khmer Rouge, including Ronald and David Scott. It has not been fully confirmed how either man was executed, but it is understood that at least one Australian had a tyre placed around his neck. It was filled with petrol and ignited. Up to 2 million people were killed between 1975 and 1979 during the reign of the Communist Party of Kampuchea in what would become known as the Cambodian Genocide. The chief of S21, Comrade Duch, was implicated in the immolation deaths of Western prisoners, among his other offences, and sentenced to life imprisonment for crimes against humanity, torture and murder, dying in prison in 2020. Khmer Rouge Navy Commander Miaz Muth, who authorised the capture of Ronald and David Scott, was charged with genocide, but the indictments were dropped in 2021 as a result of political pressure. Pol Pot evaded capture in the Cambodian jungle for almost 2 decades, but died under house arrest before facing trial for his crimes in 1998. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.